Hey squad, welcome back. Now, first of all, let me apologize for the sound of my voice. I'm recovering from a bit of a cold flu situation and I'm not fully out of the woods yet, so forgive my croaky tones today. The most important thing is that I deliver to you some quality information. So today I wanted to follow up on a video I recently released about reggae music, and I want to show you how I achieve an old school sounding reggae mix, something that will be akin to classic releases from the 70s and 80s. Now, I lived through that era and I was fortunate enough to grow up on those amazing sounds and tones. And today I'm going to show you exactly how you can achieve something very similar for your own classic sounding reggae mixes. Okay? Now, before I actually dive in to showing you how to achieve the sound, it really is important that you understand the fundamentals of why those classic reggae songs sounded the way they did. You see, it was a time unlike today where everything was done with actual physical hardware equipment, real mixing boards, real compressors, real EQs, and all running through different cables and in different environments. Now, the founders and developers of the original roots reggae sound, they often didn't have the luxury of the latest, most sophisticated equipment at their disposal. However, they made the very best use of what was in front of them, and they did a lot of experimenting to come up with equipment and techniques that revolutionized the actual process of recording. Having said that, the biggest selling reggae album of all time is Legend by Bob Marley and the Wailers. Many of the songs on that album were re-recorded and remastered in a studio right here in the UK. So in order for us to recreate that sound, we need to assemble some of the equipment that would very likely have been used in those original recordings. Thankfully, virtual models of those tools we have right here at our disposal, and I'm going to show you right now how we're going to use them to create that sound. Okay, so what I'm going to do right here is go through the tracks that I've got in this production, and then we'll look at the effects that we'll be using to recreate the sound. Like before, I'm going to upload this project for you to download, explore, and experiment. There's nothing like having the actual mix in front of you where you can try things out, switch things on and off yourself, and hear the difference that each of these plugins are actually making. So make sure you check for the link in the description and download it completely free of charge. Of course, the production is not for release, but I'm sure you can be creative with things such as the drums and percussion for your own projects. Anyway, let me break this down. So first things first, we've got our drums and percussion section. Then we've got 3 tracks of guitars. Then we've got our organ and horns. Then we got some vocals. And then I've got my bass line. That is the raw mix without the key plugins switched in, okay? Now at the top here, you'll notice that I've got these Kramer HLS channel strips, and right at the end here, I've got this SSL compressor. Let me tell you what's going on here. All of the key plugins I'm using here are by Waves, and you can download and try them out completely free of charge. Now, the Kramer HLS is the modeling of the channel strips from their legendary Helios mixing board from back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and many of the big international reggae tunes would have been mixed on a Helios desk, and that's why we've employed the modeling of that technology right here in the mix. As the first element, our signal passes through. So right here, we've got our drums, and our drums are going through to bus 10. And on bus 10, at the very top of our Logic channel strip, we've got an instance of the Kramer HLS. As you can see here, our guitars, all 3 of them are going through to a bus as well. We're going through to our guitar bus, which which is bus 6 right here. And again, we've got our Helios up there. Let's switch that on. Come down to the organ. I've put an instance of the HLS on the actual organ channel strip right here. So let's switch that in. Now the organ is going through to a bus, but this bus here is our sub mix bus. And what I've created is on bus 20, all of our sounds and instruments are ending up on bus 20, which is our sub mix bus. So if we go back to the guitars, for example, the guitars are going through to bus 6, and then bus 6 will output to bus 20. Same for the drums. The drums are going through to bus 10, and then bus 10 outputs to bus 20. The horns, again, they're going through to bus 20, our submix bus. Now the vocals are going through to their own bus, bus 5, the vocal bus. So let's switch that on right there. And the bass goes straight through to the submix, but we've got an instance of the HLS on the bass channel itself. So let's have a quick listen.
Ready for them, we say we ready for them. Ready for them because of your problem. Ready for them, we say we ready for them. Ready for them because of your problem.
Hey, I no more sleep, I no more slumber. Awake children. Hi, the battle must be won, must overcome.
So I'm not really using these channel strips at the moment to really drive the signal. I'm looking for the tonal quality, the color, and the character that these units will offer. Later on, as we boost the signal using compression and other tools, the inherent color will really come through. But already we are creating a nice texture for this overall mix. Let's move on to the next plugins. Now, the next thing I've got on my drums is my good old faithful Tony Maserati GRP. It's just one of them things I have to put on my drum group bus because it adds something extra special that works for me. It adds some crunch and it adds some edge to the drums, which I really like. So let's A/B that so you can hear the difference. It really lifts those drums as a group and pushes them through, really rocking the groove. And now just to sweeten the guitars, I'm using the CLA guitars. Let's bring that in. And I've got the Dave Darlington electric guitar preset. Let's A/B that. Yeah, really, really sweet. Now, another key unit that I've got on the vocal group bus is the Waves CLA2A, a modeling of the Teletronics classic compressor. And again, I'm just using a preset to control the dynamics, give us the tightness of the vocal, and add that extra layer of character and tone to the vocal sound. Now, I recorded my bass DI directly injected into my audio interface, so the sound of the bass wasn't shaped by any kind of amp or cabinet. And that's why I'm using a virtual one right here, the Voltage Amps bass. But also I'm using another unit that's been modeled on a classic, the Waves CLA 76. And this is modeled on the Yuri 1176, the classic compressor that would have been found in every single top studio back in the day and probably even now. So let's A/B these to hear what they do to the bass.
Ready for them, we say we ready for them. Ready for them because of your problem. Ready for them, we say we ready for them. Oh, ready for them because of your problem.
Hey, I no more sleep, I no more slumber. Awake children. Hi, the battle must be won, must overcome.
Ready for them, we say we ready for them.
Did you hear what these two units did to the tone of the bass in terms of adding the roundness and the warmth that wasn't there in the first place? That's what you get when you carefully select the tools to give you the sound that you're looking for. So now let's move on to the submix channel. Okay, so as I said before, all of my individual channels are being routed into a submix channel, which is a group bus channel. And on here, I've got these wonderful plugins that are going to give me that extra character that I'm looking for. First of all, I've got the SSL bus compressor, which is a classic from the SSL console. Also, I'm using the SSL EQ just to give me that extra SSL console color. And over here, I'm using the NLS bus, the non-linear summing bus. We've got three options. We've got the SSL option by Spike. We've got the EMI 12345 option by Mike. And the last one here is the Neve console summing option. We're going to stick with SSL all the way through. Now there's one other thing that we need to introduce before we move to the master bus. Let's go back over here to the drums, and on bus 1 over here I've got my reverb. We can't do a reggae mix without our reverb. Now we're using 2 reverbs. We got one on bus 1, the Magma Springs, and on bus 2 I'm using this one right here, and this one here is a model of the legendary Lexicon 480L, absolute legend in all of the very biggest studios. So this one I'm using on the vocals, whereas this one I'm using on the instruments. There's one other thing I want to show you before I forget. Over here on this vocal track right here, I'm using an instance of the H delay for one of these vocal chops. Have a quick listen to what this is doing. Now, the H delay is one of the best plugins I've ever used. It's really creative and gives you a ton of fantastic options. Definitely one to check out. Now, let's move to the master bus. Okay, so on our master bus, we've got some more great virtual analog plugins that will continue to shape the tone of our song and give us that old school analog vintage flavor. First up, we've got one of my favorites, which is the Aphex Vintage Exciter. That's going to add some really interesting harmonics to the song. Secondly, we've got the Abbey Road J37 Reel to Reel, which is going to give us some tape saturation, again coloring the tone of the mix. And then over here, we've got the Abbey Road TG Mastering Console. Once again, this is going to give us some more color and some more drive and some more width to the overall mix. And at the very end of the chain, I'm using the Waves L3 Ultra Maximizer and using the Extreme Analog Profile to give us, once again, more of that analog flavor. And remember, all of the plugins I'm using right here in this mix, you can download and try out free of charge. Links will be in the description for all of them. Also, there will be a link in the description for you to download this Logic project as well. You'll be able to experiment to your heart's content to develop the sound that you're looking for your mixes. So finally, what I'm going to do is run the mix and then bring in all of these plugins one at a time while we play out. So thanks for watching. If I brought you value, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave me a comment. It's always great hearing from you. Until next time, I'm Deuce. I'm out. Peace.
Ready for them, say we ready for them. Ready for them because of your problem. Ready for them, say